So today I am super excited for today's video. And that is because I am going to be recommending you books based off of Disney movies. I really tried to swing for the fences with this one. I'm not going with retellings. So I'm not going to be like, if you like Cinderella, read Cinder. Because that is a known retelling. Like, to me, I was like, everybody knows that. Just like I'm not going to tell you, like, if you like Beauty and the Beast, read A Curse So Dark and Lonely, because that is a retelling. I'm trying to kind of stretch it. Like, some of these are kind of a stretch. Some of these are like vibes, like it gives the same vibes. But a lot of them, you know, I love these movies. I also love these books. So I think they kind of go well together. You may think I'm crazy by the end of this because it's like, how do you connect this with this? But, you know, we're just rolling with it. This is how my brain works, you know? Sometimes it makes really weird connections. So if you like this Disney movie, you will like this book. Probably. First, we're starting out with Big Hero 6. This is one of my favorite Disney movies. I think it's underrated. People don't talk about it enough. I adore it. It's got Fall Out Boy music. Like, what is better than Big Hero 6? Nothing. Nothing. I love that movie. But if you loved Big Hero 6 the way I did, you will probably enjoy Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is a YA superhero story. It is superhero kids, and so is Big Hero 6. This is such a good series. I loved book 1. I loved book 2. Book 3 kind of let me down, but I still liked it. But I highly recommend the series as a whole. We are following Nova, who is one of the anarchists, so the bad guys, and she is infiltrating the renegades, who are the good guys. But she ends up kind of making friends with them and maybe falling in love with one of them. I don't know. You know, it's like one of those, and it is such a cute story. I absolutely loved the first book. I think the second book is my absolute favorite, and then book 3, the ending, I didn't really love. But still, the story as a whole, I really enjoyed. But yes, I highly recommend this book if you liked Big Hero 6 and you like superhero kids. Next up, y'all gonna fight me on this one, but Anastasia. And I know Anastasia is not a Disney movie, but it technically is now. After like the deal that they just did, Disney now owns the rights to Anastasia. So technically, Anastasia is a Disney movie. So I can use it in this video if I want to, because it is a technicality. I love Anastasia. I loved Anastasia as a kid. Like, I know that's definitely not the true story, but don't we all wish it was? Like, don't we wish that that's how like actual Anastasia ended and not like what really happened in history? Like, we just want that happy ending, right? But if you love the movie Anastasia, you will probably really enjoy Fireborn by Rosario Munda. This is kind of a Russian Revolution Anastasia-esque book where our main boy, his entire family was killed on Palace Day, and he was supposed to have been killed, but he ended up being spared and raised in an orphanage among the poor and making friends with this one girl who his family slaughtered, her family, so that's fun. And it's just so good. I love this series. I loved the second book. If you have not read this, I don't care if you liked Anastasia or not, you should just still read this book because it's so good. I have a full review if you want to go see my full review for this book, but 10 out of 10 would recommend. Go get Fireborn. All right, the next one is if you liked Aladdin, you should go and check out City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. I literally just finished this book and had to pick up books 2 and 3 because like I needed them in my life. Like, the ending of this book was so good that it made me buy the other 2 books with the quickness. So that's definitely telling you something. In this book, we are following Nari, who is this like kind of street grifter. And she has these magical powers that she can't really explain, where she basically can heal people. And she kind of uses that to her advantage, but she's like living on the streets of Cairo. And in this time, like women can't be doctors. And she ends up also kind of like conning people. And she's a thief, like, you know, she's Lady Aladdin. And at some point during one of her cons, she ends up calling a jinn and finding out she has these powers, and she's like the last heir to this family that everybody thought was murdered, and she has to go to the mythical city of Davabad to where the jinn live, and it is so good. I loved this book. Like the food in this book like really stuck out to me, and it made me hungry, and it gave me those perfect Aladdin vibes that I love, and I think that you will love as well. So for the next one, I actually have 2 books, and that is If You Like Mulan. Now, Mulan is probably my absolute favorite Disney movie. Always has been. Like, she didn't need a man, and it was just... Mulan has always been my favorite Disney movie. She is my favorite Disney princess. And, you know, I tried real hard to find some good recommendations, like If You Like Mulan, and you might not agree with these, but for the first one, I think is sort of Kaigen. This does not have the like woman dressed as a man, but it does have that like female warrior, and then like where she's not supposed to be a warrior because it's a man's world, and she ends up having to like save people because like they underestimate her because she's a woman. And I just love everything about this book. This is one of my favorite books, and I think you should read it. It is also a self-published book, and I love it so much. I have a full review for this as well, so you should check that out and read this book. It definitely gives me those Mulan vibes in that way, but it's definitely not like a retelling or anything, but it has a very similar, just feelings, just vibes, you know? I hate saying that, but it really does. Like, it has that same, like, you know, women are not supposed to be warriors, but like she is kind of thing. So definitely love this. But if you love Mulan for the like girl dressed as a boy infiltrating the army type trope, then I do have a recommendation, and that is Crown of Feathers by Nikki Palpretto. I love this book as well. We follow 2 sisters, Val and Veronica, and Veronica and Val really want to be Phoenix Riders. They are kind of in hiding because they are animages, and in this world, animages, who are people who can like communicate with animals, are seen as less than. They're usually sold into like slavery or like forced labor, and they don't want that. So they're trying to find Phoenix eggs so they can become Phoenix Riders again. And they do end up kind of having a falling out, and Veronica goes off and joins this group of Phoenix Riders that she finds, but she has to pretend to be a boy in order to do so. And I absolutely love it. And there is a love interest in this book, and one thing that I absolutely love is that the love interest starts to fall for her while she's still a boy, and like literally does not care either way when she's like, no, I'm a girl. Like it's like Shang, that bisexual legend. I love it. Next up, we have one that might also be quite the stretch, and that is If You Like WALL-E, which who doesn't like WALL-E? It's so freaking adorable. You'll probably like Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I know, it's a stretch, but hear me out. The humans are living off-world. They're not on Earth, right? So we've got that, and we've kind of got like the whole unknowing aspects of it. It's, you know, spacey, and we're trying to save the human race, and it's just, it gives me the same kind of feelings. But I absolutely love this book, so I really just wanted to find a way to include it. Like, let's be real. But I just, if you like WALL-E, like the feeling of that kind of, not really post-apocalyptic, but like where Earth isn't really habitable and people have had to go elsewhere, but we don't really know if that's a good thing or not, like then you'll probably really like Skyward. I really like Skyward, and I also have a full review for this, but I'll link it. But it was like one of my very first videos, and it's not very good, but you can watch it if you want. Just don't make fun of me. Another one is If You Like Fantasia that whimsical, lyrical, beautiful movie, Fantasia, that has no words, right? I hated Fantasia as a kid. As an adult, I appreciate Fantasia. As a kid, I was like, there's no words. But if you like Fantasia, you will probably like the Starless Sea. This, again, it's very whimsical and lyrical and beautiful and confusing. And you just have to kind of like suspend belief and roll with it. So I really think that this really compares well to Fantasia, okay? Fantasia? Did I just say Fantasia? Fantasia. Because I'm smart. Anyway, this book is hard to explain. It's beautiful and lyrical and whimsical, and it's a story within a story, and it's a book about books, and it's a love story, and it's just so much wrapped up into this book. It holds up really well on reread. I highly recommend you pick it up and go check out my full review I have of this book as well, because I do have a full review of this amazingly beautiful, confusing, lyrical, wonderful book. All right, the next one. I thought this was a fun one. Like, I might be stretching it a little bit with some of these, but I thought this one was right on, right? Once you think about it, you're like, oh, I get it. It's great. If you like Monsters, Inc., Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Portal fantasy. We've got portals and multiple Londons, and you're not supposed to bring things back from one London to another. Just like you're not supposed to touch the humans in Monsters, Inc. But we end up bringing Boo across the door in Monsters, Inc. And we end up bringing Lila across the door in A Darker Shade of Magic. So you can see where my brain connected those. I feel like that meme, that you know what I'm talking about, right? The meme. That's what my brain is. But this is a like portal fantasy where there is multiple different Londons and very few people can cross through them, but you're not supposed to bring things across, and then something brings across and chaos ensues and we have to fight the big bad. And I love this series. I love the whole series. I think it's fantastic. V.E. Schwab is actually writing a continuation of the series, and I cannot wait for that to come out. I will read anything Schwab writes. Like, Schwab is my brand, okay? So definitely pick this one up, especially if you liked Monsters, Inc. This one I had a hard time with because I wanted to find something to compare to Cinderella, which is like a classic Disney movie, right? But I didn't want it to be like a retelling. Like, I didn't want Cinder, which I love. I like Cinder. I haven't read the rest of the Lunar Chronicles. I've only read the first book. I like that. But I wanted to reach for it, you know? So I think I found one, and that is Girl of Fire and Thorns by Rae Carson. Hear me out. We've got our main girl she's fat. I love her. She's a thickin'. She hates that she's thick though. So like, she's not like thick and loving herself. She's very like self-conscious about it, which, trigger warning to anybody that bothers. Didn't bother me because I feel that way too sometimes, so it's fine. And she's like a princess, but she's not really like very beloved. I think she's like a second daughter, and she's kind of sent away to marry a prince of another kingdom or a king. And it's just, the similarities are very minimal. Let's be real. The similarities are minimal, but like the whole like, you know, from the ashes, she's not very pretty, she's not very confident, she's not very beloved, and like she meets the king prince and, you know, things happen and she has to rule a kingdom and there's a lot of political intrigue. I really like this book. And I think it can kind of fit with the Cinderella vibes of like from rags to riches, even though she was a princess before. Like, I'm excited to read the rest of this series, but this is the first one, and I highly recommend you picking this up. Okay, so this one made me laugh. And I can't stop getting the song from this movie out of my head, and that is The Rescuers, or The Rescuers Down Under, but specifically The Rescuers. And you know the song, the R-E-S-C-U-E.
R-E-S-C-U-E, Rescue Aid Society.
Yeah, that Rescue Aid Society. I love that movie. I love The Rescuers. I love The Rescuers Down Under. It's underrated. If you haven't watched it, you should. I watched it with my kids and they were like, Mom, you're crazy. But then they liked it. So if you like The Rescuers, you should pick up Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. This one again might be a stretch, but they're on a rescue mission to save the daughter of one of the members of the band. And they're like getting the band back together. And they're kind of, our main guy is like, he don't want to do it. Like he's just is like, no, this is we're old, we can't do this. And then the rescuers, like Bernard is like not a rescuer. He's just kind of there. And Bianca is like, no, Bernard is coming with me. I love that movie. Underrated. Needs more love. But so it's kind of like the reluctant group going to save the day. And I love this book so much. It is very funny to me and it's supposed to be funny. It's very like old men getting the band back together to save one of the band members' daughters. There's so many classical rock and Dungeons and Dragons references throughout this book. If you like that kind of thing, you will laugh. Like it's kind of meta. And I just love every minute of this book, and I think it's a pretty good comparison with The Rescuers. The next one I also have 2 suggestions for, and that is Brave. I love Merida. I love how she wants to win her own hand. She don't need a man. She don't want none of it. She is a badass, and I love her. And the first book that I could think of to kind of compare with the Brave feeling is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And that is because Addie LaRue also don't want no man. She doesn't want to be forced into marriage. So she does something about it. Just like Merida doesn't want to be forced into marriage, so she does something about it. And there are consequences that affect other people. So it's kind of a thing. I absolutely love this book. I have a full review. Go check that out. But the other one, I actually don't have a physical copy anymore. I lent it to my niece, and that is Sky in the Deep. And while this does have a romance in it, it also has that very like badass, don't take no crap, doesn't need anybody, like female protagonist, and she's trying to save her brother. And in Brave, Merida is trying to save her brothers who have turned into bears along with her mother. So I definitely recommend checking out these books. Sky in the Deep is like Norse, very Viking feeling standalone. I really, really liked it when I read it. I still need to read Girl the Sea Gave Back, which is like a not quite sequel to it. But I really, really enjoyed this book. And it gives me all the brave vibes. And last, but definitely not least, is Tangled. I love Tangled. It was one of the first Disney movies I remember my daughter really liking just because of her age. And I mean, I love Rapunzel. I love Flynn Rider. I love Eugene in this book. Like Eugene is just the best. And we've got Pascal. Like I love Rapunzel. And the feelings of this with the girl being trapped and then finally escaping, but like the big bad that trapped her is coming for her. And like still trying to make her feel like, no, I love you and you're good and you need to come with me. And that whole like feeling reminds me so much of Where Dreams Descend. In this book, we have our main girl who's kind of held hostage in this house where she performs every night, and she eventually escapes, and the man who like she thought loved her or whatever is like coming to find her, but like she meets someone else who is like, ugh, I love DeMarco, the love interest in this book. And I can kind of see him being very Flynn Rider-esque, very makes sense. I just love this, and I think it gives a lot of those same feelings of the girl being trapped and escaping and they're trying to catch her, and It's so good. I can't wait for book 2 to come out, and I really hope again that Owl Crate does a pretty edition because this is stunning. And Owl Crate needs to do more stunning editions. So that was all of the books that I can kind of recommend to you right now based on Disney movies. I had so much fun coming up with those because I really, like I said, tried to stretch it. I tried to like come up with some books that weren't so commonly talked about when I've seen other people recommend, like, if you like this Disney movie, read this book, because I didn't, like I said, want to do direct retellings, and like just the way the wires in my brain work, we got some really strange combinations, but I think they all work. And I love all the books. I love all the movies. So hopefully you've had fun. Let me know what you think down below, if there's any comparisons you would make. I have a couple books that I'm reading now that I think I will add to like a part 2 of this video later on because they're giving me some feelings. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. My name is Jessie. I will see you next time. Bye.